I'm going to give you 5 expert tips on how to build more strength in hot yoga. Now, these aren't tips for somebody that's already strong. I'm talking about somebody that's probably on the more flexible side that needs to build more strength. So make sure you listen to all 5 tips, especially the last one, which is the most important one. So make sure you watch the video all the way to the end. In this video, I'm going to get you stronger. Tip number 1, you got to come every day. No more 2 times a week, no more 3 times a week. So how many times should you come? And this has been my recipe for how many times you should come a week. 4 times minimum, 5 is great, 6 is ideal, don't like 7. When I came to my first yoga class, February 1980, I was working 5 days a week. I was a bartender at the LA airport, Los Angeles airport, LAX. So I said to Bikram after class, well, I'm working 5 days a week, so I'll come on my 2 days off. He said, no, you got to come at least 3 times a week. You probably heard me say this before. Pretty soon I was coming 3-4 times a day. But I disagree with Bikram on the 3 times a week. I think 4 should be a minimum. But now if you want to build more strength, forget about 4. 5 should be a minimum. 6 is ideal. And I'll tell you why I don't like 7. Because I think 1 day a week you should give the body a rest. So 5 times a week is great. 6 is ideal. Every now and then you could do a double class. That's really going to get you stronger. Before we continue, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Hit the like button if you're enjoying this video. Any comments or questions or frustrations, put them down in the comments below. I get to all the comments. I'm happy to get back to you. If you want to learn all about hot yoga, tutorials, flows, factoids like this video, hit the subscribe button and the like button right now. At my yoga studio in Fort Lauderdale, which I had for 39 years, at one point I started to introduce in January a 5-day-a-week challenge. 5 days a week for 2 months, transform your life. People would put their name up on the board. They would write down their classes. Sometimes people would compete on who could complete the 5-day challenge the fastest. And then we'd give them like a $50 bonus gift from our store. But here's what I observed during this 5-day-a-week challenge, which we do in January. People that would come twice a week or 3 times a week, let's say for 6 months to a year. And then all of a sudden they took the challenge on and they started coming 5 times a week or sometimes 6 times a week. They found in the first 2 weeks of coming 5 times a week, they improved more in the previous 6 months. That's how powerful it is to do yoga on a consistent basis, 5 times a week. And I say do them in a row. If you do 6, do them in a row. If you do 5, don't go 3, 1 day off and then 2. Monday, when I did yoga 6 times a week, Monday was my stiffest day because I took off Sunday. And I would slowly progress and get stronger and stronger and stronger. Saturday was my best day. Take off Sunday, Monday I'm stiff again. If you're taking off every other day, or if you're doing 3 classes, taking off 1, you're in Monday perpetually. We've got to get you into that consistent practice, build momentum at the end of the week. Tip number 2, and that's change your mindset. This video is for somebody that's more flexible than they are strong. You have to think strength. You have to think tightness. Bikram would always say contraction of the abdominal walls. In fact, one of the students I did class with on a regular basis, we had a bet. I thought Bikram was saying construction of the abdominal walls. He said, no, he's saying contraction because of Bikram's accent. Contraction of the abdominal walls. I lost the bet. But when you're doing a posture like awkward pose, for example, you're taking a deep breath in, you're sitting right down like you're sitting on a chair. You're going to hold the abdominal walls tight. You're going to drop your shoulders, but strengthen your arms, those tricep muscles. You're going to take advantage of the isometric experience that is happening in the pose. When you're doing the second part awkward pose, you're up on the toes and down you go. You're going to hold the muscles tight, contract the abdominal walls, don't constrict them. Keep the quadricep muscles engaged. Actually, in the second part, awkward pose, I like the hips a little bit above the knees. That's going to give the quadricep muscles even more of a workout. If you go too low, the muscles aren't working. So when you're doing postures like the awkward pose, the eagle pose, tight, 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 hold that body solid. Now this goes along with tip number 2, and that's the lower bandhas. Let me tell you what the bandhas are. They don't really talk about them that much in the Bikram world. There are 3 bandhas. These are energy points. Bandhas actually means lock. So there's the mula bandha, that's below the abdominals, the sphincter muscles around the perineum. Then there's a pit of the belly, that's the uddiyana bandha, and then the chin to the chest is the 3rd, the Jalandhara bandha. But we're just talking about the 2 bandhas first, the mula uddiyana bandhas. Those are the lower bandhas. When we're doing, again, a posture like awkward pose, as you come down, the tailbone turns under, you're going to hold the sphincter muscles, you're going to hold the abdominals, the mula uddiyana bandhas, hold them tight, tight, tight. When you come up from the pose, a lot of times I see people in the awkward pose, they jerk to come up to the pose. You're going to hold that. This is what they talk about in calisthenic exercises, holding your core. But it's not just the abdominals. It's below the abdominals. The mula bandha is just as important, if not more important, and that's going to give you more stability, more strength. We're going to get you stronger. Now in the Vishnu-Ghosh world, there's a posture that's unique. Bikram, Barkan, Vishnu-Ghosh world. And that's standing separate leg, head to knee. And in this pose, that's when we're activating all three bandhas at the same time. The Mula, Uddiyana, the chin comes to the chest, we curl down, that's the throat lock or the chin lock, the Jalandhara bandha. And now we're holding those three energy points in the pose. Tight, 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 tight. And the benefit is when we come out of it. So when we come out of standing separately head to knee, we release the energy. We actually cut it off like a tourniquet. The blood and oxygen, the prana shakti are cut off from that area during the pose. We come out of it, we release out of it. The blood and oxygen now flow into that body. It's the most nourishing thing the body can sustain. And now the only time you don't want to contract the lower bandhas, interestingly enough, is in the back bends, which we exaggerate in the hot yoga world. You don't want to hold on to the abdominals, hold on to the lower bandhas during the back bend because the stomach and the lower back are super connected. So as we're going back, we actually need to relax the abdominal walls so that you can go further into position. The quadricep muscles can engage. The stomach is relaxed. Same thing with the buttocks. Actually, if you're doing a posture like camel pose, you want to relax the buttock muscles to go further. However, I don't really give that cue because the buttock muscles, they lose all their support and control, and especially if you're one of those people that are more flexible than you are strong. So there's an isolation. Dancers really understand what isolation is. So you have one muscle that's contracted, one muscle that's relaxed. Abdominals are relaxed, quadricep muscle engaged as we go into our back bends. And that brings us to tip number 3, especially for those that are trying to build strength, you must go slower. A lot of times people, when they go into standing bow, for example, they pick up their foot and they just go. And they come down and then they can't hold it because they've gone too fast and the body can't support that range of motion and they fall out of it, like fish out of water. So we're going to go slower, make our mindset to go slower into position, contract the muscles that are necessary for that particular pose to support your range of motion. That's the problem. You're so flexible, you don't have the muscles to support that flexibility. So by going slower, we can start to build those muscles. So we come down into the third pyramid pose, super slow, and then you can hover right before the hips touch the heels. And now coming up, same thing. What's the first thing you have to do is to hold the abdominal muscles, hold those lower bandhas, take a deep breath, and slowly come up. And as you come up slower into the pose, especially back to standing bow again, as you go down slower into the pose, come out of it slower, you've got control, and that's how the muscles are now starting to get their isometric workout. By the way, if I sound a little congested, I got a little cold going on, but the best you can do, side note, when you have congestion, is to get your butt into that hot room and sweat it out. I remember the very first time Bikram came to my studio in 1984, we'd only been open a year, I was sick as a dog. I had a terrible cold, and Bikram said, get in that hot room. And we actually had a sauna at our apartment complex. That's one of the things that Bikram and I did all the time. We sat in the sauna. Nobody could sit in the sauna longer than me except for Bikram. It'd sweat out that cold. And I'll give you a little side note story about Bikram and I. We were at some health club, and Bikram and I were going to the sauna again, and there were steps way up high, and this is almost like a steam room, but it was a sauna. And now Bikram comes in and he's got a big bucket of water. I mean, massive bucket of water. I'm at the very high step. And he pours that water into the coals and the steam starts to rise. And I'm at the very top of the step. And I pretty much, all the hair on my body got burned off. I ran down the step. I remember I pushed Bikram out of the way and out of I went to the sauna room. And Bikram was laughing as hard as he possibly could. Just wanted to share that story with you. Back to step number 4, and that's the breath. Bikram calls it 80-20. I call it percentage because there's a couple postures maybe 70-30. Definitely postures maybe 90-10. What do we mean by that? When we're doing a posture like cobra pose, for example, we take a deep breath in and we come up. We're going to hold 80% of the breath in our body, in our lungs, and let little bits of exhale. Bikram would say short sips of exhale out to give you the range of motion. Now, when we're doing a posture like full locust, because you really can't inhale once you're up there. So in the full locust, I like to go more 9-10. So take a deep breath out, fill the lungs up completely. Now you're coming up into full locust, short sips of exhale. And as soon as 10% leaves your body, stop exhaling. You probably won't be able to inhale. Hold, and lower down slowly. Now, when we're doing postures like back to standing separately head to knee again, that's, you don't really need to go into the percentage breath. You want to let all the breath out because there's really not much strength that it takes for you to maintain this position. Separate leg stretching, same thing. Here you can let the breath go. But in the yoga room, we don't want to let too much air out because if you've ever taken a vinyasa class coming from the Ashtanga world, you hear deep breaths in and deep breaths out. That's what they call the Ujjayi sound. The Ujjayi doesn't necessarily have to be so strong and violent like that. It can also be very subtle. That can be Ujjayi as well. But however, if you do that in a hot yoga room, the deep breath in and deep breath out, you're going to hyperventilate. So that's why we do the 80-10. But when we're doing a position like separate leg stretching again, you can let all the breath out. Just don't be in a strong, violent breath. Let it out again in a subtle fashion, but in the postures that require more strength. Standing head to knee, balancing stick. It's actually called balancing staff pose. Triangle, we're in the percentage breath. Now here's a pop quiz that I give people in my teacher train program. I say, let's say we're doing a posture like cobra pose. You're taking deep breath in. Do you inhale, then come up, and then exhale? Or do you inhale, exhale, and come up? Third choice, do you inhale, and as you come up, exhale? Which one of those three is the right answer? And it's a trick question because, here's the answer, all three depending on your body type. Now, the average person would inhale, and then as they come up, they would exhale, the third option. But the first option, coming up to your full position and then exhaling, would be back to the person that should be watching this video that wants to gain more strength and flexibility. You need to have the muscles to support it. You've got the flexibility. You don't have to worry about exhaling to give your body room for the range of motion to take place. You can deep breath in, come up, and when you're up there, then you can go into your 20% short sips of exhale. The flip side of the coin is somebody that's super strong. They could inhale, exhale, and come up because they need to let go of the breath because the breath takes up a lot of room in the body. So they're a different breed. This video is for the person that's a little more flexible than they are strong, or maybe a lot more flexible than they are strong. Take a deep breath in, come up, and then short sips of exhale. But the breath is going to get you stronger if you time it properly. Tip number 5, remember I told you this is the most important tip. I want to give you the most important tip last. Tip number 5, you start to implement some weight training into your weekly habits. This is what Vishnu Ghosh prescribed. This is Bikram's, my teacher's teacher, Bikram's teacher, Vishnu Ghosh. His main prescription, I remember hearing an audio tape of him once. He loved Japan. He used to come to Japan all the time. And at the end of the speech, he goes, Jai India, Jai Japan. Jai means hail, paying honor to. But in that speech, he talked about his main prescription for keeping the body healthy is a combination of yoga, yogic asana, and weight training. So he combined the two together. You can see here in the picture, Vishnu Ghosh was ripped. He was a bodybuilder. He was a weight lifter. Bikram too, when he was 18, he was a clean and jerk champion. Look how ripped Bikram is in this picture. When Bikram came to the United States in the 70s, he cut out the weight training, and he's probably smart to do that, and just focus on yogic asana, keeping the contraction of the muscles. But for some people, it's not enough. So when you start to build strength, you're going to see a big difference. And that extra weight training can make a big difference. When I was doing 3-4 classes a day, and I did that for years and years and years, you can see here, I really didn't have much upper body strength at all. I mean, I was strong anyway, but I was not building upper body strength. My legs were really strong, but not the upper body. When I started to implement weight training, big difference happened. My muscles got stronger. I was able to support the flexibility, because here's what we have to think about in our yogic asana. It's flexibility, strength, combination. It's not just one over the other. And once again, if you're more flexible than you are strong, we need to go back to step number 2 and change the mindset. We got to think strong and tight. So if you're thinking about starting weight training, go to the gym. They have some really great weight trainers at local gyms. Start out nice and slow. Start out with less weights and build your way up. Start to get a little stronger in your muscles and incorporate that into your daily practice. Now, some people say, well, I don't want to take away from your flexibility. But for the person that's watching this video, we got to get you stronger. You're flexible enough. That's going to continue by maintaining your daily practice. You're going to maintain your flexibility. So start to build a little more weight training. Follow Vishnu Ghosh's prescription, combining the weight training with yoga. What a difference it's going to make. It's imperative to recognize what we need to work on most. There's a story about Tiger Woods when he won a championship at Bay Hill. He had this one shot to the green that really wasn't that great, but he ended up sinking a 40-foot putt to win the championship. But that one shot that wasn't that great, he had just won the championship. Most people that just win a tournament are going to go ahead and party. He went to the driving range and hit 200 of those shots in a row right after he just won $1 trillion winning that tournament, because he wanted to work on his weakness. Pete Rose, a very famous baseball player, when he was in college, he was known for his fielding, not his hitting. He made it his duty to work on his hitting, and all he did was drill his hitting, drill on his hitting, getting it better, getting it stronger, and now to this day, he's got more hits in Major League Baseball than anybody ever played the game. He's known more for his hitting than his fielding. So what we have to do is make our weakness our strength. So that's our episode for today. I hope these tips will make you a lot stronger practitioner. Let that strength catch up to your flexibility. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Hit the subscribe button, the like button. Any questions you have or comments, put them down below. I get to all the comments, and I will see you the next video. Bye, guys.